Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I have a guest with me. I've got Simon over here and we're going to do a character build, so definitely going to be on Dungeons & Dragons 5e because we don't play Pathfinder anymore. So what have we got today?
Yeah, well, Fred wanted me to do a Cleric Wizard and I said that's just horrifically broken. And I thought Fred might like to share some of his experiences of why he actually played one in a campaign that I ran.
Yes, okay, so really quickly we decided to play in a campaign and nobody wanted to play a cleric and nobody wanted to play a wizard, and we were essentially going to have no magic caster whatsoever and nobody who could cast any kind of real significant healing. So I built a cleric, one level in it, and the rest was all in wizard. And that's how that happened. And I was told that was very broken, and I have to say, it definitely is.
Yeah, so it's pretty obvious why you did it in that case, but a really good reason to build your wizard cleric is that you want to get access to those healing spells. And if you're in a battle, being able to cast the bonus action spell Healing Word is incredibly useful because you can just bring up one of your party members from 30 foot away, which is a great benefit. And also you can cast the Cure Wounds spells. And the strange thing about the way that they set up these spells in 5th edition is that they don't really scale with your cleric level, they scale just with spell slots like everything else. Well,
they scale with your character level, so it doesn't matter if you've got levels in wizard or cleric or some other silly thing, and as long as you pick two full casters, which cleric and wizard are, you're all good. So what's the build? What do we got?
Well, okay, I'd just like to say that you also get some other stuff as well, just Bless and Bane, they're brilliant, and you get the Guidance cantrip, but so what you're doing it for is also the armour class as well, because they all the clerics grant you medium armour and a shield, but you can also get heavy armour with some of the domains. I'm not that keen on that, because then to wear full plate armour you've got to have a 15 strength unless you want to take penalties, and I'd rather have the medium armour with your 14 dex and one less AC. In the player's handbook you've got the life, light, nature, tempest, trickery and war, and of them the knowledge domain I think is pretty good for your wizard, because it's actually really good in terms of making a background. You know, why did your cleric suddenly decide to run off and become a wizard? Well, if he's a knowledge cleric, it makes very good sense. But the domain gives you what's called Blessings of Knowledge, which gives you proficiency in 2 out of Arcana, History, Nature or Religion. And the great thing about it is you not only get a proficiency in these, you get double proficiency. So it makes your, when you start being a wizard, then you become a true encyclopedia and sage in it. You get command and you get identifier, which aren't incredible, and but if you cast command you've got to remember it goes off the your wisdom DC and not your intelligence, which is an important point. And there's also the life domain, and that's also great. This is what your
so you go cleric life domain, so you get the heavy armor proficiency.
You do get heavy armor, yeah.
And you get the benefits of being a life cleric, which basically means just makes all of your healing better.
Yeah, you get an extra 2 points plus 1 per level. So if you're casting a level 3 healing spell, you get a free 5 points of healing, which is pretty nice. And in fact, if you've got another cleric in the party and you're a cleric 1, say wizard 6, you'll actually be able to heal better than the equivalent cleric unless they cast heal. Pretty useful.
What race did you go with? Because I know when I built my cleric wizard I went with half elf. Your suggestion, simply because I could put +1 into intelligence and wisdom, because I wanted to make sure that intelligence and wisdom was as high as possible, and then the +2 to charisma got dumped in there because you don't have a choice. That's what it's got to be for the half elf. What did you pick in terms of the race?
I think you're also the brother of another half elf in the party. Was part of it.
Yeah, it was part of it, but it was the only class where I could use the bonuses from there to pump up intelligence and wisdom as a level 1 character to 16.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gone for the 16 in Wisdom myself. I'd go for the 14 myself, because I don't think the 16 Wisdom is necessary. I prefer sticking the stats. Maybe now that I've gone over it a bit more into dexterity or constitution, because I don't think you really get a lot out of the 16 wisdom compared to having higher constitution and dex. The one I went for in this build was the gnome. You can pretty much go with any gnome with this. They all get a +2 bonus to intelligence. But one of the great things about gnomes is that they also get advantage on saving throws, to magic saving throws on wisdom, and also intelligence, and also charisma. So that's actually a pretty handy thing for a wizard to have. So in terms of point buy, I went with strength 8, dex 13, which goes up to a 14, con 12, intelligence 15, you add 2, it goes up to a 17, wisdom 14, and charisma 10. And then in terms of choosing your skills, you've got 2 from history, insight, medicine, persuasion, and religion. So I would go with this with insight and religion, and then I went with the knowledge domain. And then from the knowledge domain, picked up Arcana and History. And then for background, you really want to try and make sure you pick up perception of something. So, but I went for Sage, and the 2 skills they've got are the same. So then you can do anything. So I went with Investigation and Perception, so you can find some things with this guy. And then you just multi-class into Wizard at level 2. And I thought the Divination Wizard looked sort of fun for that. And in terms of feats, get your first feat at level 5, which is a bit sad that that's delayed, but I quite like the racial feat for the gnome, which is Fade Away, and then that gives you a +1 intelligence, so you've got 18 intelligence, and then you just not go for just a straight +2 intelligence on the next feat, and then from there it's pretty much anything you like, and take the pick of all the kind of like good feats like lucky or a resilience con if you started out with a odd con score, and all those sort of things.
So you go on divination, so you get those 2 dice that you can use to torture the dungeon master with.
It's the portent.
Yeah.
It's just good fun.
Yeah, until you run out of them, and then the dungeon master's all over you.
Yeah, then you're a gnome. You run away and hide. That build doesn't pick up heavy armor, but you'll get an armor class of 15, and then +2 for your dex, and then you can add on a shield for 19, and then you cast the shield spell, and you're pretty good for AC. And if you compare it to a regular wizard, he's got maybe 13 armor from mage armor, and he gets +2 from his dex, it's up to 15, and then he casts shield, and that's up to 20, so you do get a few extra points of AC as cleric.
Fair enough, that makes sense. So how does this work? Is this build really, I mean, as far as I remember when I was building my cleric wizard, I built it around the concept, I didn't do divination, I did evocation, but divination, really it's those 2 dice that you can use to torture your dungeon master with.
Yeah, well, with those 2 dice, it really depends on what you roll, but if you roll a couple of low numbers, then you can just give them out to monsters as their saving throws. So, usually, often casting the kind of like save or suck spells, if the DM makes the save for that monster, then you've just wasted your spell and also wasted your action, so it's pretty useless. So it just does make those spells more useful, because you can just say, right, this is the boss fight, I need to do something to cripple the boss. Yeah, have a 1 on your saving throw if you're really lucky, but quite often things even like 5, 6, 7s, 8s will fail that saving throw as well. It just makes it predictable. Yeah.
So now my understanding, because what I did with my cleric wizard was I try to pick up spells that were rituals. So even with the cleric, I was looking through at all of the level 1 spells that I could pick up as a cleric that were a ritual. So I didn't have to use or burn spell slots, and I could, if I had time, it was obviously out of combat, but it was more utility. And I did the same thing with the wizard, as I tried to accrue as many ritual spells as I possibly could rather than focusing on some of the other spells that weren't rituals. That's where I sort of went for first. And the concept is not so much necessarily about damage dealing, because wizards always do lots of area, large area. They can affect a lot of different enemies all at once. So area effect spells that do damage are always going to be there, no matter what you really take. It's really the utility side. I always found that it was the utility and the flexibility. And when you're going wizard and cleric, right, you can pretty much cover half the party functions.
Yeah, it's not really going to make you a huge amount better in combat, except it raises your AC. If you started as a cleric, you have a couple of extra hit points, which doesn't really make huge amounts of difference in the long run. But really, it's the kind of like utility, and also the ability to heal the party. So is a pretty important one, and especially if you've got no cleric and no wizard.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good one.
And you've got a really high armor class now, because you've got all that armor proficiency that you didn't have because you started with cleric rather than wizard.
Yeah, and the other thing is getting through first level as a wizard is never very much fun, whereas playing a cleric at level 1, it just makes you that much tougher.
Yeah.
The survival rate is going to be quite a bit higher, so that's pretty important.
So the weaknesses for a cleric wizard, if there are any, as far as I can tell when I've been playing them, is that there's an issue with, if they roll a critical hit, there's nothing you can really do, because you can't use your shield to deal with that.
Oh, that's why you take portrait.
You can do that twice. You can do that twice, but after that, so it'll be, if they start rolling too many critical hits, and that's not going to happen very often, so it's not a particularly big weakness if you ask me. It's saving throws that are always a downfall for a wizard, rather than, particularly if you've already got a high armor class and access to the spell shield.
Yeah.
It's saving throws, and the saving throws you get right for a wizard are intelligence and wisdom, and they're so rare.
Yeah, there's only 2 spells in the core rulebook which actually affect intelligence, which is Feeble Mind, and I think it's Phantasmal Force.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost never happens.
There's only 2 other things I can think of, and you'll let me know if I've missed anything. Surprise attacks, particularly from behind, again a munch up a wizard, no matter what wizard type it is.
Well, I guess you could take alert.
You could take alert if you really wanted to circumvent that. And then the other thing that I can think of is any kind of creature or monster that can see invisible creatures, because wizards later on rely so heavily on invisibility.
And Fade Away does that as a reaction when you get hit as a gnome. You get to turn invisible for a round with that feat. So creatures which see invisibility are going to be annoying, but they're going to be bad for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a wash there. I think the thing that really kills them is the lack of hit points and area effect spells. But in Xanathar's there's that new first level spell, Absorb Elements, and it takes reaction to cast, and then you get resistance to the selected element type, which does actually go quite a long way to helping prevent your wizard from dying with any life.
Okay, cool. Alright, so that's pretty much everything. We covered it all?
Oh, I'm sure I can think of more things.
No, yeah, but we don't have time for that. But thank you anyway. Okay, so thank you, Simon, for all of that. That was a rundown on a cleric wizard. This is just a basic concept of how you would go about building a cleric wizard. There's lots of different ways you could do it. So if you found this helpful or useful, great. Please watch more of my videos. There are a bunch of them for players and dungeon masters, and there's a couple of character build videos out there now that you should be able to find pretty easily. Not very hard. They're in the playlist under character builds. Now remember, I have, if you want to support the channel, I have a Patreon page. I have affiliate links to the book depository and Amazon, and also have merchandise shelf. Make sure to share, like and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. And it generally happens more than once a week. In fact, it happens quite a lot, unfortunately, for anybody who doesn't want to be notified lots and lots of times. And hey, thank you, Simon.
Yeah, no worries.
And until next time, keep rolling those 20s.